Friday evening, February 17th, this last Friday at approximately 7:05 p.m., a Smith County Sheriff's Office K-9 unit working on Interstate 20, working criminal interdiction, made a traffic stop westbound around a mile marker 575, which is westbound at Barber Road exit, which is over towards Gregg County. He stopped a van, a large white van with Mexico plates, pulling a trailer, which was hauling several motorcycles and another vehicle, and then on that trailer was attached, another vehicle was attached. The deputy made contact and spoke with the driver and only occupant of the vehicle, a Hispanic male who subsequently identified as Eric Marin Islas Angeles of Mexico. Consent to search was asked for and received from Angeles. The deputy located a car-sized battery within a job box in the back of the van. And in picking up the battery, the deputy could tell it was not of normal battery weight, which he observed the battery further and found out that it was being used as a concealment compartment. Angeles also had 3 cell phones that were ringing all the time during this traffic stop, which the deputy thought was pretty suspicious as well. Inside this battery was packed was a large amount of blue round pills believed to be about 42,000 or 9 pounds. The pills were blue tablets marked with an M on the side, which deputies know, especially narcotics and interdiction deputies know, that these have normally been coming from Mexico and contain fentanyl. The Angeles is being held at Smith County Sheriff's Office at this time in our jail, charged with delivery, possession and with intent to deliver a controlled substance, with a $2 million bond, which was set by 114th State District Judge Austin Reeve Jackson. Smith County Sheriff's Office partners in these interdiction efforts with North Texas Sheriff's Criminal Interdiction Unit, a multi-agency initiative between Collin, Grayson, Hunt, Parker, Rockwall, Smith, Tarrant, and Wise counties, and we have been doing this for several years. Sheriff Jim Skinner stated, "This large seizure of fentanyl by NTXCIU deputies will make communities across East and North Texas much safer. The 8 sheriff's offices that comprise this will continue their close interagency cooperation to push back and fight the deadly scourge of fentanyl. These efforts save lives." I also stated, "I'm proud of the interagency cooperation between these multi-agency jurisdictions, task force, and I'm also proud of our deputies here, the K-9 deputy, the narcotics deputies, which responded at the drop of a hat and assisted in this operation once the fentanyl was located. And as Governor Abbott, you hear him say all the time, we've got to stop the fentanyl coming across the Mexican border." Now I'll open it, entertain any questions.
So are we seeing a problem with this?
We are. We had a death here within the last week or so where some of these type pills were located here in Smith County. And it's suspected numerous deaths of younger kids that were just seen to be overdose. This is probably going to be the culprit.
Any idea where this guy was headed?
I have no idea at this time. He was coming from up from east going west. So I don't know how far he was coming from. You know, normally the drugs are going the other direction, but that would lead someone to believe that there could have been more at one time and all of them weren't delivered. There's all kind of things you could think of what reason would be going that direction, because that's not typical.
And we know just how deadly fentanyl is. When your officers or deputies have to handle this stuff, is there any kind of special protocol?
Absolutely. We use as best we can self-contained breathing apparatus, and gloves, sometimes multiple layers of gloves, because the problem with fentanyl, once it comes from China to Mexico, there's not any in the manufacture of the pills and the pill stamping process. There's not any quality control. In other words, they don't know how many grains of fentanyl they're putting in each tablet. And the size of a pinhead can kill you. So there's no quality control. All I urge anyone, and speaking especially to those citizens we have that use illegal narcotics, please stay away from the one that's blue tablet stamped with an M on it. It will take your life.
And you mentioned this NTXCIU, this
Right.
kind of collaborative effort. Did they have a part in this particular arrest?
Just when we're working together, they had no part in this particular arrest, other than anytime we're working, they'll come here and work. We'll work different counties, all the different counties of the agencies that are involved. And it was just one of the NTXCIU efforts, if you will, to do an interdiction.
They'll share information.
Absolutely.
This stuff.
NTXCIU was started by Sheriff Skinner of Collin County. It was his idea. And before we got our TAG unit, our Texas Anti-Gang Unit, when I first ran for sheriff back in 2012, I was wanting to put an intelligence unit here because it was the only part of the state that didn't have intelligence gathering agencies. So we partnered at that time with Collin County, which does have a intelligence center. And later, in talking to DPS Director McCraw, I found out about the anti-gang effort, which was law enforcement officers, federal, state, and local, along with an intelligence part of the unit. So that's what we chose to go with, the TAG. But before the TAG was here, we started with NTXCIU with Sheriff Skinner. If y'all remember, we went to court, and we have jurisdiction in each of those counties I named. They have a jurisdiction in our county. We signed memorandums of agreement. Sheriff Skinner and I testified at the legislature, I think it's 4 years ago, if I'm not mistaken, to get the legislation cleaned up where a sheriff does not have to be in a contiguous county, a county adjoining, to lend help. Now I can jump 3 counties if they need help, and we have something we can provide. We have the ability to do that. So this isn't just a beginning thing that we were just started. The NTXCIU goes back several years. It's also then we got our gang unit here, Texas Anti-Gang Unit. This K9 deputy is a part of that anti-gang unit as well as NTXCIU. And we're going to continue our efforts. Obviously, I want to say this as the sheriff here. Our priority is the citizens within Smith County. But we're going to work on the interstate when we have time because there's kids dying in other places as well. And anytime we can counteract that, we're going to do it. So,
Larry, what was it that tipped off your deputies to pull this vehicle?
well, obviously there are things that I won't give out all the trade secrets here of when we have someone working interdiction on the interstate that we look for. To me, just speaking to myself, I'm not speaking for the K9 deputy, one thing that would have tipped me off is a vehicle with motorcycles on a trailer, another vehicle on the trailer, pulling another vehicle, headed westbound on interstate and changing lanes without using his blinker. That's probable cause for a traffic stop. And that's the things that you look for as an interdiction officer, or that's just several facts, the things I would be looking for.
So the K9 deputy was involved. Are they K9's able to sniff out this drug?
Yes.
When it comes to this car battery that he had the drugs inside, it seems pretty elaborate. Did the dog signal that something may be in that car battery?
No, really, just because we have a K9 deputy working in interdiction, more times than not, you might not think this, but more times than not, the deputy gets consent prior to having to use the K-9. And that's what happened in this instance. The K-9 was not deployed, so the person he made our deputy think enough of what was going on with the 3 cell phones and other things of that nature, and going that direction with the vehicles, gave him probable cause to search the vehicle, and in searching it in a job box in the back of the van, when he opened the job box and moved the battery out of the way, the battery was very light, and he could tell the battery had been hollowed out, which an interdiction officer will pique their curiosity very much. So he removed the battery and took the top off of it and found the fentanyl pills.
So
There were about 42,000 of them, or about 9 pounds is how many there were.
yeah, so why do you think he would give consent knowing that he had those drugs there?
Well, the only reason I could think he would give consent, knowing the drugs were there, that's what helps us out in so many situations. They think they know more than law enforcement officers do. Law enforcement officers that work interdiction are very well taught what to look for, and picking up a battery and to move it out of the way and it just is so light is a clue. And so the top of that battery was taken off and the drugs were found in it. But there's so many things that they're taught to look for. We even have some of the NTXCIU have X-ray capabilities, the X-ray fenders of vehicles for false compartments and things of that nature.
Yes, and so,
It's not like it was back when I was on the road. You just had to be blind luck. But things have really progressed in the law enforcement. The tools we have really progressed throughout the years, and we're being more successful in interdiction.
yeah, so, you know, you had mentioned illicits are coming from Mexico and things like that. So is that kind of like a problem with our border?
Oh, absolutely, it's a problem with the border. Governor Abbott speaks about it every day. Every time I look at one of his tweets, he's talking about securing the border. I talk to border sheriffs all the time that just are overrun with people crossing the border and crossing between the checkpoints illegally, and it's an epidemic. It is. I don't care what you hear from anyone else. I can tell you that it is a problem.
Larry, since he was captured in Smith County, will he be prosecuted here?
He could be prosecuted here, potentially, Allen, or he could potentially be prosecuted in federal court.
This car and these motorcycles, were those his or were they stolen? Do we know?
We're still investigating the cars and motorcycles as to whether or not they're stolen, or if he was just purchasing them here to help hide his reason for traveling to and from Mexico.
And I know I asked you where he was going. Any idea where he had come from exactly?
We don't have any idea at this point.
The 3 cell phones, any idea who was on the other end of those calls?
No,
Kept ringing?
no. Obviously, we'll find out. We'll get search warrants for the cell phones and check as far as we can in the United States the owners of the cell phones, the numbers the cell phones have been calling, the numbers they've been receiving, or making calls on each of those cell phones.
Don't want to speculate, but likely people connected to the trafficking of this drug. Or
Absolutely, that would be my suspicion, that the phones were ringing nonstop during the traffic stop. It could be where there was what we see periodically or really frequently is you have a chase car or a car that will be following that vehicle. We don't know if that's the case at this time. I've seen it happen where that vehicle will do something erratic to make the deputies stop them instead of the one that they're originally going to stop. So but the deputies are aware of all those tricks and everything. So that didn't happen in this situation, but I have seen it in the past.
So Larry, did you find anything in any of the other vehicles, the car or the motorcycle?
I'm sure all of those were searched, Alan. The only thing found was the one package with the 42,000 pills.
Yeah, why fentanyl? I mean, we're starting to hear about it more and more every day.
Fentanyl is a manufactured drug. It comes very inexpensive. It's very inexpensive. It comes from China. just as the precursor chemicals. I was on the clandestine methamphetamine laboratory team when I was with Drug Enforcement Administration. I was stationed in Denver, Colorado. We had methamphetamine laboratories all over the state. We've had them all over the state. When I worked local law enforcement here in Texas, we were number 3 in the nation in clandestine methamphetamine laboratories, until the federal government finally put a stop to the importation of precursor chemicals. What that did at that time, it opened it up for going directly from China to Mexico, where they can unabatedly sit there and manufacture these drugs and then bring them across our border. So it comes from Mexico, it comes from China to Mexico. Then they have appeal presses, they put the fentanyl in, and again, the quality control is non-existent. That's what's killing our children.
Sheriff, I don't know if drug dealers watch the news, but I mean, what's the message to people who plan on driving through Smith County with stuff like that?
The message is, if you're going to come through here, you would be best to go around Smith County, because we're going to do our best to put a stop to it the best we can. We have very well-trained officers here. We have the Texas Anti-Gang Unit that operates very close to Interstate 20 and 69 and the other major highways. We have all the tools that we need to do the best job we can of stopping these deadly drugs.
Now, I just want to ask, because to me, 42,000 seems like a lot of pills, but is that about the normal of what they would bring?
It depends on who their source is. There were most likely, my experience, there would probably have been more than 42,000 if we would have caught them before, not knowing where they came from. There was probably more in there to start with. But the thing about it is, one tablet alone can kill you. One little pen size of a pen, not an ink pen, I'm talking about a needle, 1 grain can kill people. And that could have been 42,000 deaths right there in the United States. And are they doing it on purpose, or doing it because of poor quality control? We don't know, but it doesn't matter. It's killing our children.
Now, they talk about this stuff being mixed in with other drugs.
It is.
Like cocaine.
Mm-hmm.
So this type of pill wouldn't be used for that,
For what, Alan?
for mixing in with other
Oh,
drugs.
it very well could be.
There's only a small amount of fentanyl in it.
Right. The small amount of fentanyl is all it takes. Yes, they are mixed many times with cocaine, methamphetamine, and other drugs. But fentanyl is so inexpensive because it's manufactured. You don't have to grow a poppy plant like they do to extract heroin from it, or a coca plant to make cocaine with, or to get marijuana. You don't have to have a marijuana plant. It's a manufactured drug. And that's just fentanyl. Now, when you start talking about carfentanil, which is even 100 times more potent than this fentanyl, but it's very much something that the drug users here, and we've got a lot of them. We've got a lot of kids, we've got a lot of adults on drugs, and we want to get the word out to them. They need to be careful about taking any tablet such as this. This has been around for a while. It's going to be around for a much longer while. It's going to take several things to happen to stop it from here. And one is closing the border, make people come through the proper process. And it's going to take law enforcement to, all the way between here and where it comes from, to do their due diligence to get it stopped.
Larry, we've seen pictures of some of the pills that look like multicolored vitamins or something.
Mm-hmm.
Were these multicolored? Were they white?
These were blue tablets, and I can get you a photograph of them with an M stamped on one side. The one we had here last week with a death is just like this one, and it had a number 30 on the back side of it. So anything like that stamped with an M, just don't take any drug that you don't get from your pharmacist, and because if you take things you don't know what you're taking. I was taught as a small kid, don't touch hot stoves, don't take drugs that you don't know what they are, and if you won't be around with us for much longer, do not partake in taking any pill that you don't know where it comes from. the best of my knowledge, I'm thinking in the early 20s, if I'm not mistaken.
A young person.
Yeah, very young. And most of the ones we see taking this drug, it's related to the opioid use, more so than cocaine and other drugs like that. All right. Uh-huh.